Here's something you could do right now just to save some money. Switch to Mint Mobile. I'm partnering with them for today's video. You might already know Mint Mobile if you've seen those funny ads from Ryan Reynolds, who is an owner. But let me tell you quickly how awesome this service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 per month. And you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep the cost low because they sell directly to you online. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? I've had a great experience using Mint Mobile, and the thing that I love the most is that unlimited plan. It got me out of a bind on a 23-hour drive down to Florida. I was able to use it, and it was super fast, and I highly recommend it. Lucky for you, switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their digital eSIM cards, you can sign up and activate immediately right from your phone from the comfort of your own home. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. No more standing and waiting around at a big wireless store. You can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. My experience using the eSIM card was relatively simple. I just went into the cellular data and I went to secondary and I put in the eSIM card. It was that easy. All Mint Mobile plans do include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that sets you up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link in the description to get premium wireless starting as $15 a month at mintmobile.com/JKB. Stop paying more than you need to on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. All right, so we finished the quarterbacks, we finished the running backs, so you know what that means. We're going to have a running back prospect video. You clicked on the link, so you know, but this is going to be Rams-centric. So this is where the NFL draft blurs lines between my draft content and the Rams. Who could the Rams draft out of all these running backs? And I'll be honest with you, I watched 25 of them. I made 24 videos. 2 more will post. You'll see them soon. But 24-minute scouting report videos. We're going to break them all down into tiers, and I'm going to tell you which ones have a shot at becoming Rams. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let's dive right in. So, starting off with tier 1. It is the day 1 starter tier. We have Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. And when you look at those two, you can clearly see they're just a cut above the rest. Bijan Robinson is a guy that many believe is going to be a generational talent. Many believe could go in the top 10. I don't know where he's going to go because he does play the running back position, a position that is notoriously known for dropping off at age 30. But this guy is incredibly talented, and he is my number 1 running back in this draft. This tier, to me, is first round going into early second. I think they're both first-round talents, both Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama, but we'll see how teams value that position. Obviously, there have been teams going away from there, and most notably, you had a 7th-round pick just start in the Super Bowl at running back, Isaiah Pacheco. So I don't know if teams are, rushing back to go and select a running back in the first round again, but if they are, then these two definitely deserve that. So, in accordance to the Rams, does this make any sort of sense? Well, right now, the Rams do not have a first-round pick. They could acquire one with the Jalen Ramsey trade looming. I don't see any other trade getting them in the first round, so let's just say that they do have a first-round pick. Are these two guys options? I think they're options to an extent. I personally would not draft a running back in the first round. I think they have way too many needs, and I'd be against it. But I think the Rams could do this. And the reason to justify it is that these are feature backs. The argument is that Cam Akers is going into his last year under his contract. He'll be a restricted free agent next year due to the 3 games that he had for the pension credit, the season that he missed pretty much the entire season. He's going to be a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted free agent. So because of that, the Rams could get him back cheaper than, say, if he hit the open market. But if Cam Akers plays any bit like he did towards the end of last year, I don't know if he'll be back with the Rams. I don't know if they're going to sign him. So with that said, do you consider drafting a talent of Bijan Robinson or a Jahmyr Gibbs that are that they play that well as far as just overall. You talk about pass protection, you talk about receiving ability, they have it all. So do you run the risk of, maybe you hurt your whole relationship with Cam Akers and you have to trade him or whatnot? But I certainly think it's possible. And this is my tier 1 list. So we move on here to tier 2. And tier 2, I'm looking at Tyjae Spears out of Tulane. I know a lot of USC fans know who he is because he absolutely exploded in that game against USC. He is my number 3 running back. I compare him to Tony Pollard. I think this is a guy that you could probably get in the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm probably higher on him than most teams. I'm not saying he's going to go in the 2nd round. I have him as a 2nd round grade. He brings everything to the table. I would like to see him get a little bit better in pass pro, but he does literally bring everything to the table. Maybe some ball security concerns to an extent, nothing too big, but he oozes potential. To me, he's the next best feature back option. And, 5'10", $190 to 200 pounds. That's fine. I mean, that's like Marshall Faulk level as far as put together at the running back position. Guy's very fast. He's athletic. I love Tyjae Spears. He just had a fantastic Senior Bowl, so he's one to keep an eye on. And to me, he leads the pack in tier 2 future starters. The next guy I have, running back number 4, is Israel Abanikanda out of Pittsburgh. When you look at Abanikanda, he's what I would refer to as a home run threat. Not necessarily a feature back at this point in the game. If we're making archetypes, he's a home run threat. The guy has serious 4.4 ability. Maybe he's going to run faster than that at his pro day, but I love his speed overall. I love that he's just a very well put together running back at 5'11", 215. And what I found is that he can bounce off of tacklers. He can make guys miss. He's really got it all as just a pure runner. Now, I would like to see, some more usage in the receiving game, maybe get better in pass pro. But I think Israel Abanikanda, to me, is a guy that people are sleeping on, and he comes in 2nd in this tier 2. Number 3 is Devon Achane. You probably know who he is. He was expected to be the fastest guy at the combine. He was expected to potentially break the 40-time record. He did not do that, but let's not take anything away from him. He's still a very talented running back out of Texas A&M who kind of reminds me a little bit of Cam Akers, just with a lot more speed. Cam Akers suffered from the same thing. He had a poor offensive line at Florida State, and Devon Achane did not have a good offensive line at Texas A&M. He made the most of it. He broke tackles. He made guys miss, and he was incredibly fast. He made the most of a bad situation, and that is something that I like to see for a running back going into the NFL. So Devon Achane comes in at 5 on my overall running back list, and he's 3rd here in tier 2. It's going to be a big tier list, keep in mind. Tier 2, we go to the 4th guy in tier 2, which a lot of viewers now are a big fan of, Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. I have him as my 6th overall running back. He, to me, is a feature back. He has everything that you want. He just doesn't have that long speed, although he ran better than I expected at the combine. Charbonnet is built. He can, sustain punishment. He can drag defenders. He can be a bowling ball up the middle, but he's also quicker than I anticipated. When I was watching the tape, he's a guy that can help you in the receiving game. He has a little bit of Steven Jackson to him, but I think people forget Jackson was like a 4.3, 4.4 speed type of guy, just not normal. I don't necessarily think he's Steven Jackson, but he's got some skills that I can understand why people would relate him to him. So I have him in the tier 2 list. And then Keaton Mitchell, number 5 on the tier 2 list. He's my number 7 overall running back out of East Carolina. East Carolina put out a very explosive running back in Chris Johnson into the NFL. And I'm not saying he's Chris Johnson, but I'm not saying that he can't be somebody like Chris Johnson. The guy stands at 5'7", 179. That may scare people away. Not me. As you guys know, if you've been following me, size doesn't really bother me at all. as far as prospects go. So Keaton Mitchell, to me, could be a starting running back in this league. I have him featured as a home run threat for now. I wouldn't call him a feature back. I think he's going to be a priority RB2. And I think this is somebody that makes sense for the Rams for that reason. So when I look at Keaton Mitchell, I look at how his tape looks like, honestly, a highlight reel with just that speed, the 4.3 speed displayed on tape. I see his ability out of the backfield as a receiver, and I'm honestly starting to wonder if this guy could play wide receiver in the NFL in the slot if he had to. I think he could do it. He comes in at 7, number 8 in this, future starter tier 2, tier is Deuce Vaughn. He's 5'5". He's a $176. And I understand people will be like, starter? You have a 5'5" guy being a starter? Look, I think Deuce Vaughn is going to start someday, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be RB1. Okay. If he gets 20 touches a game, 10 out of the backfield as a runner and 10 out of the backfield as a receiver, or, some out of the slot, to me, that's a starter. That is a sixth man who you basically call a starter, a very important contributor, and that's what I think Deuce Vaughn can be. He's got the quickest feet I've ever seen. He reminds me of Tariq Cohen, but I think he can be a lot better. He reminds me of Darren Sproles, but I think he can be a lot better. This guy is just so good, and he's so unstoppable when he gets out in space, especially in the receiving game, because what are you going to do? Are you going to put a cornerback on a running back? Now all of a sudden you have to take a cornerback off a wide receiver or a tight end. It's not easy. He's just going to outrun most of these linebackers. He's going to outplay most of these linebackers. He is a mismatch, and so I think he makes a lot of sense. He comes in here at my RB8, and he comes here at the 6th guy out of 8 in this tier 2 ranking. Next up, I have Kendre Miller out of TCU. Kendre Miller, for those of you who don't know, he is 6 foot. He's 220. He's more of a well-rounded, balanced running back. That's how I would describe him. Could be a starter someday. He's not going to blow you away with anything. He's just very consistent and solid as a runner of the football. That doesn't mean he can't offer anything in the receiving game, but I have him at RB9. And then rounding out the future starter tier 2 list, I have Roschon Johnson out of Texas. That's right, another Texas running back in the top 10. Roschon Johnson, to me, blew me away on film. He's a balanced runner. He's 6'2", 223. He didn't run like super well, but the thing with him is that I don't really think speed is a big issue. I think he's going to have fine speed in the NFL. If you run in the 4.5s, you're going to be okay. He doesn't blow you away with his speed, but he's got power. He's really got it all. He can help you in pass pro. He can help you as a receiver. I'm excited about his overall potential, and I'm not going to say anything like I think he could be better than Bijan Robinson, but I'll just say that I think they both can end up being starters in this league, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So that's what I have for tier 2. Moving on to tier 3, we have the possible starters here. So not guys that I'm saying are 100% going to start, but guys that are possible, to start. Guys that could start at some point. You have Zach Evans out of Ole Miss. To me, I think Evans is incredibly interesting. I compared him to Dalvin Cook. I think he's a speed back that can help you with his power when he gets to that second level, but the thing about him is going to be ball security. The thing about him is going to be the fact that what else can he do as a runner? And that is going to be very interesting. Didn't have a ton of production, so this is definitely a guy to look out for. I'm very interested in Zach Evans. I have him at RB11 in this draft. And then moving on to RB12, I have Georgia's running back Kenny McIntosh, who I got to tell you, he's a balanced runner and receiver. To me, at 6'1", 210 pounds, this guy is very similar. Honestly, he's a carbon copy of Fred Jackson. If you guys remember Fred Jackson with the Buffalo Bills, if you're looking for a guy like that can help you as a receiver, that can help you as a combo, to me, Kenny McIntosh does that. Now, he's got to be better with his ball security, but I do think that this guy has a combination of speed and power that I think people are going to like about him. Then you move on to RB 13, which is the Xazavian Valladay out of Arizona State, who reminds me of former Arizona State prospect that came out last year, who I was very high on and people were sleeping on, Rachaad White. This guy can help you in the receiving game. He's explosive. And for whatever reasons, Xazavian Valladay wasn't brought into the combine. He was held out of the combine. He wasn't at the Senior Bowl. He's being slept on. I mean, quite honestly, let's be real here. He's just being slept on, and I think he's going to offer some good value there. So you have him in the tier 3. You have Tank Bigsby out of Auburn as my RB 14, standing at 6 foot 208. Decent speed, not great speed, but an overall solid back that I think is going to be well balanced. He's a one cut back, so I think that's something to look out for. If you're looking for a guy like that, you'll notice I think that this draft, out of 25 running backs that I watched, they all have their own flavor, and I feel like that's going to bode well for any team because you can go out and get whatever you want in this draft. Do you want a power back? Do you want a speed guy? Do you want a receiver? Do you want to do it all? I mean, they're everybody out there. And so that's the beauty about this draft class for sure. Then you look at Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota. I compare him to C.J. Anderson, and I think the guy is very interesting. He has injury concerns. He is 25 years old. So you're drafting a guy who's probably not going to come back on a deal after his rookie deal. Maybe he will. I don't know. But he's interesting to me because the guy just runs the right way. You talk about great pad level, getting low, and just putting, some force into your runs and just falling forward and doing the dirty work in short yardage situations, finishing in the second level where all right, I'm not going to beat this guy, but I am going to deliver a blow where maybe I can knock him down and, fall forward 5 yards. That's something that Mo Ibrahim is going to do. And so I think that's very impressive. Coming out of Minnesota, he's the guy to look out for. Like I said, he reminds me of C.J. Anderson, kind of that bowling ball look, but I think he might be a little bit more physical, if I'm being honest. I really like his physicality, at least out of Mo Ibrahim. And then next up, I have Eric Gray, who's my RB 16 out of Oklahoma. I really like Eric Gray's game. I think he's one of the craftiest runners in this draft. You talk about a balanced guy that can help you. He got stronger. He can help you as far as his power goes, but also he's got some deceptive speed. He's quick. And the thing I like about him is his receiving ability. So I got to tell you, Eric Gray, I think in tier 3 does make a lot of sense. For any team that needs a running back that's kind of a do-it-all type of guy, maybe doesn't want to spend a premium pick on that. Then next up, I have RB17, Evan Hull out of Northwestern, a guy that just does it all. He's a no-nonsense type of back. He's not going to, set highlight reel type of stuff up. He's not going to be an ESPN top 10. It's not that type of guy. He's not flashy, but he does everything well. He's consistent and he's grounded. And I do like that about Evan Hull. I don't know where he's going to go in this draft, probably day 3, but I think you're getting good value with him, especially, as a pass catcher out of the backfield. And then wrapping up this tier of possible starters, we move on to Sean Tucker out of Syracuse, who is somewhat of a fan favorite in the clubhouse for Rams fans. I think a lot of Rams fans like him. I know there are some, for whatever reason, there are a lot of Syracuse Rams fans I notice. And I mean, my co-host, Cam Lynch, who played for the Rams, he went to Syracuse. So, there's all sorts of Syracuse Rams connections. But Sean Tucker, 5'10", 210, he does have some issues in, I think the receiving game. I think he could definitely help you in the receiving game if he, fixes his drops. But I think the drops are like a real concern. I mean, like I was watching the tape and I just came away with, he's got to get better with his hands. He's got to have softer hands. But if he does that, he's going to be very good. I think it's more pound for pound being a snap to snap consistent running back. And I think if you do that and you have better hands, then yeah, Sean Tucker could absolutely become a starting running back at the next level. I compare him to Tatum Bell, I believe he ran for the Lions, he ran for the Broncos, and I think even Washington at one point. If you guys remember Tatum Bell, that is my comparison there. I don't throw comparisons around. It's either I see it or I don't. If I don't make one. So Sean Tucker just oozed Tatum Bell on tape for me. Just a speed back that's going to give you a lot. Moving on to the last tier here, we're calling them the role players, and I included one that I did not get around to making a 1-minute scouting report video for, but we'll get to that. Jordan Mims, we start off, RB19 out of Fresno State. He's a receiving back. He's a very intriguing running back because he's going to go on day 3, and I think he is going to top off a running back room that needs that receiving threat, kind of a scat threat. But the thing about him, he's 6 foot, he's around 200 pounds. He can run with some power, he can break some tackles. He absolutely exploded in the LA Bowl. This is a guy that, was behind Ronnie Rivers of the Rams, his previous year. And when he became the starter, he absolutely flourished and exploded onto the scene. I think Jordan Mims is a player to look out for. He's a sleeper. Role player, may never be a starter, but he doesn't necessarily have to be. None of these guys do. And I think Jordan Mims is good value late in the draft. Another guy that I think is good value late in the draft, I have around a 5th, 6th round grade on, is RB20 for me, Tavion Thomas out of Utah. He is 6'2", 240 pounds. He did not run a great 40 time. It was around the 4.7s. And I know people instantly look at that and they write him off their board. But here's the thing about Tavion Thomas. I don't care about his speed. If you're looking for a guy that is going to punch it in from the 1 yard line, if you're looking for a guy that on 3rd and inches you can give it to and he is going to just pound his way for the first down, he has a nose for the end zone and for the first down marker. That is Tavion Thomas. His power, he's one of my favorite power backs in this draft. He's probably the best pure power back in this draft as far as not really possessing the other things. I think he's just such a great power back. He puts his head down and he can really break some tackles and, can get those yards. To me, Tavion Thomas, he has a nose for the end zone. I think this is a guy to look out for late in the draft that can really help a team out. And he did run by some defenders for big touchdowns as well. So that 4.7 speed, yeah, maybe he wasn't great at running that 40 time out of the sprinter stance. But when I turn on the tape, I don't see 4.7. He's not the fastest guy, but I see more 4.5, high 4.5s, maybe low 4.6s. I don't see 4.7 on tape, not at all. Moving on, we have RB21 out of Illinois, Chase Brown. Brown is incredibly intriguing because he reminds me of Austin Eckler. He's got the speed, and overall people have worried about his size and just not really translating to being a starter, but he took on a big workload for the Illini, and I thought he did a fantastic job. My biggest question mark with him is ball security. He had 8 fumbles in college. If that comes back to the NFL, he's going to have a hard time sticking with the team. But this guy has potential to do something in this league for sure. He's one of the priority, role players, a guy where if his ball security was a little bit better, he probably ends up grading in the teens. But since his ball security was such a question mark for me, he dropped to RB21. I still think he's a talented back, and he's definitely somebody to look out for in this draft. We move on to Chris Rodriguez out of Kentucky, a power back, a bowling ball of a runner, 5'11", 224. He's more explosive than given credit for. He's patient. He's a good runner. Honestly, I really liked his game. I know it's RB22, but I can't stress this enough, guys. I like most of the running backs that I watched in this draft. And that's the thing. I think you're getting a little bit with everybody. Chris Rodriguez is probably going to be a 3rd back that you bring in on short yardage situations. But if that's the case, I think he can do what I'm saying Tavion Thomas can do. I think he can be consistent there. I think he's got some sneaky receiving ability, not anything that I would go crazy about, but good value late in the draft. And then I have RB23, DeWayne McBride out of UAB, who I know a lot of people are very high on, way higher on him than I am. That doesn't mean I dislike him. I also have very big concerns about his ball security. He had one of the worst fumble rates in the entire league of college football. That is a concern for me. And so DeWayne McBride, I don't know how much of his ability translates to the NFL. I think he's an interesting prospect and I like him. He's a balanced running back, but that ball security definitely concerns me. I think he's good value late in the draft, but I don't know how high he's going to go because the consensus is not really on my side. I'm more lower on him than the consensus. So if he does fall in the 5th, 6th, 7th area, he absolutely makes a lot of sense to me. He's great value. Then you look at Camerun Peoples out of Appalachian State. He's my RB24. He's another power back. I don't know if that 6'2", 225-pound frame and that power is going to translate to the next level. And the reason I say that is because he runs way too upright. And it's the teams he's going against. It's the competition he's going against. The way he runs doesn't look like it's sustainable for the NFL level. So he will have to change what he does. But I do like him. I like his ability. I think he's got underrated speed, breakaway speed. We'll see what ends up happening for him. I see him as a late day 3 pick, but I think it's a good value there. And then last but not least, I have the balanced running back out of USC, Travis Dye, who's never going to turn any heads. He's not overly athletic and he's not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but Travis Dye does the dirty work, man. This guy is great in pass pro. He brings the business in pass pro. He's just a feisty runner that does not want to go down. And at 5'10", 200 pounds, it's not a terrible, that's not a terrible frame. This guy could carve out a role, in the NFL, and he's one to look out for moving forward. So in conclusion, who makes sense to the Rams? Like if I'm going through all of these guys, who makes sense to the Rams? That's what you want to know. Like, what did I learn? Who makes sense to the Rams? Well, first off, I'm going to say unless Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs end up being there in the 2nd round, the Rams should not take a running back in the 1st round. So I'm going to cross them off. I think they're going to be great. They can go be great. The way Cam Akers played at the end of last year, he's my starter going into next year. I'm very excited about Kyren Williams, and I do like Ronnie Rivers, so I want one more running back personally. I don't think these two make sense. We move on to back to tier 2, okay? Who makes sense here? Tyjae Spears. Is he going to go in the 3rd? That might be a little high for me, but I think he does make sense for the Rams. I think he'd be very helpful in the receiving game. I think Sean McVay would get a lot out of him, so he's the guy that I look for. Israel Abanikanda, kind of same thing there. I think he makes sense. He's going to go lower than I have him. I have him in the 2nd, 3rd round. I think he's going to go in the 4th or 5th. Teams are looking at him more of like a project. Fine by me. I think he makes sense for the Rams. Devon Achane is probably going to go higher. I don't know if I think the Rams would be interested. I think he makes sense. Charbonnet, I don't know if Charbonnet makes sense just because he, to me, is going to be a star wherever he goes. I don't know if he makes sense for the Rams because I think they have their starter. Not to say that they wouldn't be interested, but I don't know if he makes sense for the archetype that they should probably be looking for. Keaton Mitchell makes a lot of sense. He's probably going to go lower than I have him, but if he does, I think he's great value for the Rams. That speed back can complement and really play off the other guys in that room. The Rams, in my opinion, need a guy that can be a home run threat, a guy that can break away. And if you're looking at that, then the guys that are home run threats in this draft are Israel Abanikanda, Devon Achane, Keaton Mitchell, Deuce Vaughn. I think those are probably the best. And Deuce Vaughn's up next. And to me, Deuce Vaughn is the perfect fit for the LA Rams. I think you get him. Maybe he goes in the 4th round. I don't know. He might go earlier because he's such a weapon and a team might just be like, we'll figure out how to use him. But if he goes in the 4th round, that would be a golden opportunity for the Rams. He could really help out their offense. I think this guy will have success no matter where he goes. So I really like Deuce Vaughn. And then we look at the third tier, going back to the possible starters. Xazavian Valladay has that breakaway speed, has that home run threat ability. He's a guy I really like here. Mo Ibrahim, to me, I don't know if he makes a lot of sense. I think he's more of a power back, which is good. The Rams don't have that, but I think they need more speed. So I would look more at Sean Tucker here at the back end of this tier 3. Tucker makes sense. 4th round, sign me up. I think if those other guys aren't available, Sean Tucker makes sense for the Rams if they're going for a running back in those, 3rd, 4th round. I think he makes a lot of sense. And then Evan Hull as well, to a degree, I think makes sense. Then you look at round 4, and in this one, I think Chase Brown, if he does fall into the 5th, 6th, 7th, I think he makes sense for the Rams. I think then you look at a guy like DeWayne McBride, Jordan Mims. But overall, if you're looking at anybody in this draft, I think the 2 guys that make the most sense for the LA Rams to draft at the running back position are Keaton Mitchell and Deuce Vaughn. I have a higher grade on them than most people do. So it's not necessarily saying that they'll go in that future starter tier. They're not necessarily going to go in the, the 2nd round, 3rd round. But if they do, that might be a little bit out of the Rams, realm of possibility. But in the 4th round, a Keaton Mitchell or Deuce Vaughn, that's going to help your offense nicely. Offense wins championships, right? Isn't that what we're talking about now with the Chiefs? I think this makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think, what you guys took away from this video, who you guys would like, and so forth. But in my opinion, Keaton Mitchell or Deuce Vaughn or Sean Tucker might make the most sense for the Rams to draft in this draft. I'm leaning Keaton Mitchell and Deuce Vaughn. There's some other guys. Roschon Johnson would be interesting. And, I'll take talent. Obviously, Tyjae Spears would be great. But Spears, to me, is the number 1 option. That could be the most realistic. Then Keaton Mitchell and Deuce Vaughn are kind of tied. So curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments section below. I've kind of fallen in love with those 2 backs for the Rams. I understand, you might want to go power. Maybe they go and they get a guy like Camerun Peoples, or they get a guy like Chris Rodriguez late in the draft, or UDFA, certainly a possibility. But we'll have to see. I move on to the wide receivers. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys take care. I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.